One of the things that happens during Hindu holidays, Hindu festivals, depending on the festival and depending on the person, is ritual fasting. So today's video is all about tips for fasting and how to make it through. And before I get into those tips, I want to talk a little bit about fasting in Hinduism. Namaskaram, Vanakkam, welcome friends. Depending on when you see this, it's either right before, during, or right after Krishna Jayanti. So a very happy Janmashtami, a very happy Krishna Jayanti for my non-Hindu friends. This is Krishna's birthday, so happy Jayanti Day. I hope you're having a spiritually uplifting and fulfilling and wonderful time. One of the things that happens during Hindu holidays, Hindu festivals, depending on the festival and depending on the person, is ritual fasting. So today's video is all about tips for fasting and how to make it through. And before I get into those tips, I want to talk a little bit about fasting in Hinduism, because there's lots of different fasts individuals can do. We do fasts on specific holidays. In this instance, for me, on Janmashtami. We do fast as a penance. We do fast for health. We do fast to teach the body discipline, to show that the intellect and the spirit are above the material body, that we're not controlled by our tongue. There's lots of other individual reasons why people do fasts within the Hindu tradition. And when it comes to the fasts, there's lots of different varieties of fasting. There are people, when they do a fast, they'll do only sattvic food. So it's not a complete fast. They'll only eat foods, though, that are considered to be pure. So absolutely no meat or fish or poultry, no eggs. Dairy's okay, so milk, cream, yogurt are fine. Fruits, and some vegetables. No root vegetables, no pungent herbs. So a very simple diet for that day. Typically not grain either, so no rice, no bread. Just very simple dairy, fruit, and vegetables. Other people will do a fast where they abstain totally from food, and they'll have only water, only sattvic drinks. So once again, milk would be in that category, some fruit juices. Some people will do a water-only fast, where only water for that day or the 2 days, and some people will do something called nirjala, which is not even water. What people choose to do is up to them, up to their spiritual tradition. Their sampradaya might have certain rules about it or recommendations, and people have to do what's right for them in terms of their lifestyle and what's going to work for them or be the most beneficial spiritually. So why am I talking about this? Because in the early days, after I had become Hindu, accepted it as being the true path for me, I needed a community. And the first community that popped up in my city, of course, was ISKCON, the Hare Krishnas, because they have a really strong ministry, preaching initiative all over universities and that sort of thing. And in ISKCON, on Janmashtami, people will fast. They'll either do the only having sattvic food that's been specifically offered to Krishna, so prasada only, or people will do the nirjala, so nothing, no water, nothing, and some people will do the liquid only, usually just water. And that's what I do, because that's just, my first introduction into group spiritual life as a Hindu, and that was what was taught to me early on. So it's a tradition I like to keep, even though I'm not a Hare Krishna. So I am doing the Janmashtami fast, and I'll be doing the water and dairy only fast. So no solids, just liquid, and I'll do it from the last meal the night before Janmashtami all the way through until after midnight on Janmashtami, when Krishna was born, and I might not even break the fast then. I might wait till I wake up the following day to break the fast. It just depends. Depends if I end up staying at the temple until midnight. I'm not such a night owl being out that late these days, so we'll see. But I'll be keeping the fast. So I got thinking, what are things that I've learned, or maybe recommendations if someone wants to try fasting for the first time and is a little unsure, or maybe you're a seasoned veteran faster, and maybe this is just a different take. You might find it interesting. So I couldn't think of how many items, suggestions to put on this list. Should it be 3? Should it be 5? Of course, I'm thinking about the catchy YouTube titles. So I decided not to give it a number. We'll just see what comes out. So tip number one. Tip number one is, if this is your first time doing any type of fasting, you might want to go in gently. Like, don't go for the no water fast. Even the water fast might be a little bit challenging. You might want to start with a sattvic food. Just a very simple meal a few times a day, and that's it, keeping it clean. And there's lots of resources online about how to do that type of fast. Tip number two, if you're going in a bit more hardcore, what really helps to get through it on a practical level is to drink lots of water. Staying hydrated, it'll help with any feelings of hunger. Those feelings will pass. They might come from time to time, but if you just stick through it, they will pass, especially if you start to do something else and not really pay attention to it. So tip number three, I guess? Yeah, tip number three is to know why you're doing it. What is your purpose? What's the bigger picture? Why did you choose to do this fast? What's most important to you about it, about having this experience and exercising this discipline? Whatever that is for you, know that it should come from within you and not be just because somebody else said that you have to do it or you should do it. You have to find your own reason to make it worthwhile, because it isn't just about giving up the food for a day. This is a spiritual practice. You get something from doing it. It isn't just a deprivation thing. This is to enhance spiritual practice. So we need to give meaning to the practice. So whatever that meaning is, whatever that higher purpose for you, hold on to that. And the next tip is to just imagine, especially for something like Janmashtami, when midnight comes, Krishna's born, all of that excitement, all of that discipline throughout the day is coming to this beautiful moment. And just think of how you feel when that moment arrives. That's what you're working toward, that instance of spiritual ecstasy. And number 5 is going to be even beyond the fast. If you think about who you are spiritually, who you are emotionally on the next day, when you finally break that fast, when you have that realization of the fact that everything that we eat, everything that we consume, we have because of divine love. That first meal you have, be mindful of the fact that you have it because of divine love. Divine love because Bhagavan provides it. Divine love because maybe somebody's prepared it for you. Divine love because you've prepared it for yourself. So keep that in mind. And even beyond that, where will this take you in the future? Now that you've had this experience, you've exercised this discipline, what is it going to do for you? And what does it mean for you as a spiritual and emotional, intellectual, and physical being going forward? So that's it. Those are my, I believe, 5 tips for fasting and a little bit of an introduction to fasting in the Dharmic tradition. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely wish everyone a blessed, wonderful, happy Janmashtami. Hari Om.